I can't say enough about her, and can't say enough about you guys for being here today. Before I introduce this next gentleman, I'd like to pay homage and really honor the mothers who are here. In fact, the mother of Lieutenant General Sariano, who is, I believe, 98, 99 also. Please recognize her, and she's here, General Sariano. If it weren't for our mothers, we wouldn't be here, right? So we've got our mothers, okay? All right, Lieutenant General Sariano has had a very distinguished and proud career, serving 35 years in the United States Army. He was the first Filipino-American to become a flag officer in the United States Army, and at the time of his retirement in 2005, was the highest-ranking Filipino-American serving in the United States Armed Forces as a lieutenant general. Prior to his assuming command of I Corps, Fort Lewis, Washington, in August of 2002, Lieutenant General Sariano was the Director of Homeland Security, United States Joint Forces Command. His awards include 2 awards of the Distinguished Service Medal, 2 awards of the Defense Superior Service Medal, 4 awards of the Legion of Merit, the Bronze Star, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, 3 awards of the Meritorious Service Medal, and numerous awards of the Army Commendation and Achievement Medals. He's currently the Director of Business Development and U.S. Army Account Executive, Technology Services Sector at Northrop Grumman Corporation in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I can't say enough, about this guy because we do have some similarities. In fact, that we went to the same high school together, okay? But I graduated a year ahead of him, but he went way ahead of me after that, okay? I want to tell you also that he was a great athlete. From what I can remember, I was still trying to learn how to play basketball, trying to get on the team. This guy was already a hot shot. Some of you old timers may have followed basketball, the NBA. There was a guy named Pete Maravich, right? I think some of you may remember who he is, right? Because he could dribble, cross over this and that, and shoot and flip-flop that ball. You know what? In high school, Eddie, okay, was doing all that stuff. So they call Pete Maravich Pistol Pete, okay? I'm going to call Eddie AR Eddie. You know what AR stands for? Airborne Ranger Eddie. Okay. And really, I've got to commend him as well because he did give me inspiration and motivated me also to survive my tour because he stood up for me as a best man at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. As soldiers are really scared to go off to battle or going off to war. I knew I was going, and he was there to hold me up as I was shaking, during the ceremony. And he really inspired me, motivated me to stand tall and go for it, which I did. So I'm blessed here today, because of, yes, his mother, the family, and Eddie. Okay, although we ran around circles around his airborne group when we were at LCS. Anyway, enough said. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant General Eddie Sariano. Come on up, sir.
How do you follow that introduction, huh? Last time I saw Ray Cordoba was several years ago, and we were, as he said, we were in high school together. But last time I saw him, he had a full head of hair. That's a very long time ago. So, well, hey, look, good morning. How are you all doing? All right? Great. Well, look, it's a very kind introduction, Ray, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this morning. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be here with you. It's a wonderful turnout. Delighted to be here in the presence of so many distinguished people, veterans, survivors of and descendants in the academia from the Philippines, from California, and from across the United States. And it's great to see the young people here too, because today's events and the events of the last couple of days, it's all about you, really, at the end of the day. Because we're talking about the young people and the future. So I truly appreciate being here this morning to make a few remarks. Major General Tony Taguba called me up several weeks ago and asked me if I'd, come here this morning, and I was delighted to do that. Fortunately, my wife and I were coming to San Francisco anyways because she's attending her 50th high school reunion while I'm here. So it's good to come back to San Francisco, visit with the family, and see my mother. And I got here yesterday afternoon, and I told my mother didn't know why I was here. So I told her about it, and she said, "Wow, that's pretty exciting. I'm going to come with you tomorrow morning." So here she is. That's great. Yeah. And she can probably tell you some stories when you get a chance to talk to her about her experiences with my dad. So I want to thank Cecilia for the invitation to be here. My goodness, was that a wonderful presentation or what? Give her another hand. I mean, the work that you and your organization and your staff are doing is just simply amazing. Yeah, and I've got to commend you for that. What an important effort. So let me just start out by saying this. I can't think of anything more important going on in San Francisco today and the next couple of days than this event. Think about the importance of what we're doing here, okay? There is nothing more important than what we're doing today, okay? I truly, sincerely mean that. The efforts that are being made and the implications for the future are astounding. This is about the future and its impact on our Filipino community, particularly the young folks that are here, okay? I can't think of anything more important. So I'm delighted that you're here because today and the next couple of days, we're conducting the second conference on World War II in the Philippines. The opening of the exhibition of World War II in the Philippines and the role of San Francisco, and more importantly, the effort that Cecilia and her organization are taking on. And the inclusion of the World War II in the Philippines and the history curriculum for grade 11 in the California school system is just simply amazing. It's a first for our Filipino community, a first in California, a first in the United States. Could be a first in the Philippines, could be a first anywhere else. And that's just amazing. I mean, that is just truly amazing. So it's going to be a great conference. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and a terrific couple of days. So as some of you may know, my father was a Filipino scout. And he served, along with my uncle Ignacio, served in the 57th Infantry Regiment. And both fought courageously in World War II. And both were in the Bataan Death March in 1942. And as Cecilia said, 75,000 men were prisoners of war when the Battle of Bataan ended in April of 1942. About 12,000 Americans and 63,000 Filipinos. That's pretty mind-boggling to me. I mean, I can't imagine that. The Bataan Death March was one of the worst atrocities in modern wartime history. My uncle Ignacio did not survive. I mean, he died at Camp O'Donnell in the hospital. My father did, fortunately. And then my father continued his service and rejoined the U.S. Army later on. Now, my father served in the U.S. Army, received a commission, and later fought in the Korean War with the U.S. Army's 1st Cavalry Division, where he was captured and remained as a prisoner of war in the Korean conflict for most of it. In fact, he was captured fairly early on in the conflict and spent 33 months as a prisoner of war. So he received a Silver Star in that conflict for his bravery and courage. And when that conflict ended and my father was released, he continued to serve in the U.S. Army, and we eventually went to the United States in 1954, where my father was assigned to Fort Benning, Georgia. And he served in the U.S. Army for almost 20 years, and retiring in 1962 as an infantry major. And we moved to California, went to Salinas, where we settled for a while. My father worked at Fort Ord as a civil service for the government. Then moved to San Francisco, and my father passed away in 1989 here in San Francisco. You know, I have to tell you, I am incredibly proud to say that my father inspired me to join the U.S. Army and follow his footsteps. Now, he was my role model, and I was fortunate enough to experience some success in the U.S. Army and became one of our Army's more senior leaders. And I take great pride in having served 35 years in the Army. And I would tell you that it was the most rewarding time of my life, having the honor to lead soldiers in peacetime and in wartime and to serve our country. And my hope, as I've gone through my career, is that I've been able to set a good example and be a role model for our younger generation, much like my father set for me, a good example and as a role model. And for those who served to choose in the military. And I will tell you that during the course of my career, I sought out all those youngsters of Filipino-American descent, by the way, hoping, encouraging, and trying to inspire them to join the military, stay in the military, and make it a career. And I'm proud to say I was fairly successful in some of that because we've got some great Army leaders now that are Filipino-Americans.